G'day guys, that time of year again, Melbourne Cup preview. I'll do my best to push through as much as I can, keep it as short as I can without missing too much. We're looking at a good 4 track. I think they've put about 8 mils of rain 8 mils of irrigation on the track in the last 24 hours. I'd say they'll top it up again. The forecast looks great. Not much wind around today, but 29 degrees and 15 k's or so of wind around tomorrow, so perfect drying conditions. I'd be surprised if they didn't top it up a little bit to try and make sure this track stays in the sort of 4 range. I'm expecting it to be fairly firm without being crazy, but certainly looking for horses that handle dry ground. From a pace perspective, which I'm trying to look at what horses we're trying to identify here, I expect a much more solid tempo than last year. I think a few horses up on speed made the mistake of not playing into their own strengths of being able to roll along a little bit earlier and capitalise on their one-paced strength rather than trying to out-sprint horses that are better suited over slightly lesser distances. So horses like Twilight Payment last year that was completely out-sprinted, even Finch, who I think will be ridden more positively here, can capitalise on their abilities and possibly the weaknesses of horses like Anthony Van Dyke, Sir Dragonet, Russian Camelot, horses that are, even Tiger Moth, that aren't proven at the distance yet. So if there's a chink in their armour, I think horses like Finch and Twilight Payment need to really try and expose them by, even if they control the race for the early part, taking off and making it a solid staying test a little bit earlier, certainly, than they did last year. We've got a bit of pressure across the park. There's no real designated leader, I don't think, but you've got horses drawn across the park that want to find positions in the first third to half of the field, and I think that should create enough pressure early to certainly get them rolling. Big field, that's pretty standard usually, but I think they'll roll along a bit more this year, and I think they'll take off a little bit earlier and really make it a genuine 3,200 metre race. So we're looking for horses that can run the trip. There's a bit of speculation because there's quite a number of horses, especially talented horses, that haven't been tested at the Journey. So it's an interesting cup, but that makes for good arguments and different points of view, and I'll give mine. Not everyone will agree, but that's what this game's all about. So get stuck into it. Anthony Van Dyke's the first horse we're going to have a look at. Aidan O'Brien trained Bowman to ride. The beauty of this horse, it brings extremely solid form right throughout from its 2-year-old days, 3-year-old. It's come back in strong form. 2 starts back, beat home Stradivarius. Led and controlled there, but still held a very, very, very talented stayer at bay. Has beaten it at home twice this preparation, beat it home first up as well. This horse is a serious horse. It was ridden back in the field in the Caulfield Cup and obviously sustained a long run. They did go quick there, but they didn't really slow it down late. It was more of a very high tempo, slackening to a very solid tempo. So it was more of an even, very quick run race there. Obviously a soft 7, but this horse does have form on firm ground. No worry about that. Probably even can find a little bit more on firm ground, if anything. I don't think it was weak on the line there. We'll have a good look at it, but it was being held by Very Elegant, but she did have her favoured conditions there of a little bit of a sting out of the track. So I do want to have a quick look at the if I shut that down, so hang on, we'll have a quick look at the Derby just to have a little bit of a straight comparison between Sir Dragonet, who's here in the Coolmore colours, and then we've got Anthony Van Dyke just behind with the white face. So they both had nice conservative runs in transport. What I'm looking at here, and especially from a perspective of 2 horses racing in Journey, obviously this was quite a while ago. We're talking about June 2019, so these horses have developed since then, but Sir Dragonet's never really shown that he wants further. I show that he travels up quite strongly. You'll see that Anthony Van Dyke, even though he's changing lanes a few times here, trying to find some clear running, he's more of a horse that gets off the bit a little bit more. This horse has probably a little bit better turn of foot, but Anthony Van Dyke for mine's got more gears up his sleeve. He gets through him, he switches back to the inside. He's clearly stronger late, whereas Sir Dragonet's travelled up there on the bit for mine, shown its bit of acceleration, and then late, if anything, it's wanting. and struggling at the journey. So he's obviously come out here and won a Cox Plate. I'm not sneezing at this horse's level of form, but what I'm trying to say, or my opinion, is that Anthony Van Dyke's the superior stayer of the two. I'll tackle Sir Dragonet a little bit more and go into its Cox Plate run when I get to that horse, but we'll have a quick look at the Caulfield Cup run of Anthony Van Dyke and a couple of others in the race. So there's quite a few to look at. The interesting part is he's drawn out here, gate 17. He goes back in behind them. It's a choice from Bowman. You can see that he's really quiet on this horse and rides it back. So there's no doubt in the world that this horse is going to be ridden closer from gate 3. It's just drawn ideally. The 58.5 kilos is obviously the question, but what it carried here was the same impost, and now has to obviously go the extra journey. But that soft draw is going to really help this horse be cuddled. Bowman, not too much dead weight. There's a reason this horse has 58.5, and what you can see here is he's starting to build his revs. He's not a horse that just goes bang. He's obviously got a little bit of a turn of foot, but again, what we're saying is he's got good gears. He can maintain this run. Very Elegant was able to just settle that little bit closer in the run, and she's pinched a break on him. He's obviously 34 days in between runs, which is not the reason why I think he's beaten here. I think he just had to maintain the run a little bit longer than Very Elegant, and she was super strong on the line. She's a horse that's driven me mad her whole career. She's able to do things wrong in the run and still hit the line like this. Like, it's incredible. You watch her through the line, and even after the post, it's hard to knock her going up to 3,200. The problem obviously is she's not going to get her favoured softish track. But, you know, the more I look at her, the more it's hard to say she can't win. I'll probably risk her on the day, and I've risked her many times, and she's made me look silly quite a few times. But you've got to have an opinion. So the other horses, the other horse that I think is right in the race, especially if it's given the right sort of ride, and I'm sure James McDonald's the ideal rider for this horse, is Finch. They've gone out very solidly here, and Finch is the only one to sit up on speed, no cover, crowded on the turn here, which is not easy for a stayer to overcome. Any sort of momentum loss, which is what he's suffering here, is extremely hard to overcome, and especially for a horse that doesn't have a turn of speed. So Finch has had to pick itself back up and build its revs back up. The other horses we're looking at from a Melbourne Cup perspective are Prince of Iran, who's had a similar run to Anthony Van Dyke out the back, ridden that way due to its gait. It'll be ridden closer. I think Anthony Van Dyke's just a better horse. And Finch, we're sort of talking about here, Mustajir battling away. I don't think it can win, but it's not the worst from a exotics perspective. So Finch is the one that I'm concentrating on here. I just think that he's really quite strong considering where he sat in the run. The interference that he's copped on the turn, and then how he's able to pick himself back up. Going up to 3,200 metres, you know this horse is going to run it out. I really hope they ride him positively and really set the others a task to chase him rather than him try to chase them, because that just doesn't work with Finch. But I think the horse is airborne, and even though I'm getting away from Anthony Van Dyke a bit, I thought out of the Caulfield Cup, Finch and Anthony Van Dyke were the two that could improve significantly back on dry ground with a little bit more in their favour coming into this race. Anthony Van Dyke obviously has to run the distance, but everything says he will for mine, and 58.5 is the question mark. But as we're sort of talking about, Aidan O'Brien, Hugh Bowman, plenty to like about Anthony Van Dyke. Avilius was in that race, a little bit unlucky, has had a crack at this race before. For mine, is a strong distance query. Did start $16 2 years ago in this race when it was knocked over, and a complete forgive. Form's nice and solid. I just think 3,200 metres at this level's probably too much. Does his run in the Caulfield Cup detract from that form? Oh, yes and no, but he really needs to sort of go back in time and capture form that he's not showing here, and has probably shown more on heavy ground and has enough against him to want to risk him here for mine. I can't have him in even exotics here, even though he did run well last start. Vow and Declare, an Act of God winner this race last year. One of the best rides you'll ever see in your life. The tempo of 16 lengths below average certainly helped his cause, and not going as well. Blinkers go on. The stable's not a stable, I like to say, can't win about any of their horses. And at 66 to 1, it's hard to say this horse is completely legless. Its form up over this distance range is really quite solid, and it's probably one you can throw in for sort of third and fourth, maybe in your exotics, because he's going to run the trip out. He's got the soft draw, and the blinkers go on from a master trainer. So not completely hopeless, but not one of mine. Master Reality ran second in the race last year before being demoted back to fourth. Going okay, killed before this race in a much easier listed affair. I think Twilight Payment, its stablemate, gave it a bit of a lesson a few starts back and started much shorter in the market there. I know this horse has built its levels of fitness up since then. Synthetic hoof filler scares the life out of me. 60 days between runs and having to overcome all these sorts of things is a bit of a worry for mine. I think it'll roll forward and be there for quite a while, but I can't see it winning. It did sort of put a couple on the field last year and looked like it was going to be right there, but maybe it was going better this time last year, and 56 kilos may sort it out at this level. What did it carry last year? Pardon me, 55.5. So there's not a big difference. Synthetic hoof filler is the thing that scares me most, and a more genuinely run race is what scares me most about Master Reality. All right, so Dragon A, obviously a big winner of its first two starts on soft ground. Came out and ran extremely well behind Anthony Van Dyke, as we saw. His form's good without being incredible. 2 lengths to Magical's fine. All this form's solid, and then it came out and won the Cox Plate in very solid fashion. But it just looks like a 2,000 metre horse to me. Everything says it's a 2,000 metre horse. The ride of Glenn Boss was ideal in the Cox Plate. It got its soft ground, which certainly looks one of the keys to this horse unlocking his best efforts. 15.5 lengths above average. They went to the 600 metres here, so he's just had the ideal run back in the field. When we're talking, I'll sort of combine. We may as well look at these two straight away. So go back to the start. Pardon me. We've got Russian Camelot working hard, whereas Sir Dragonet, I'll call it Dragonet because it's easier for me. Drop back to the inside straight away. Russian Camelot still working. Eventually finds the 1-1, but he's forced to go early, whereas Sir Dragonet really drags up the whole way. It's just a perfect ride for a high pressure Cox Plate. This horse is obviously a quality horse, but everything that could go right did go right for it in this race, and I really think Russian Camelot can turn the tables on it. Obviously, from a fitness perspective, this horse can be fitter, but I think Russian Camelot certainly more chance of running out a strong 2 miles. Ridden a little bit colder. So again, this is what I'm sort of trying to point out, is Sir Dragonet's just tracking. Russian Camelot's been flushed out and forced to go. And Sir Dragonet is just given really a once in a lifetime passage through without having to go around any runners. Comes through the middle between these two again, has not forced to stop any momentum change at all, and while he's certainly not weak on the line, he's entitled to win considering his form and everything he's done. So he's not weak there, but I just think even Russian Camelot looks sort of beaten, but he's raced up on this fast tempo, and I expect him to be ridden colder in the Melbourne Cup, and I expect him to turn the tables on Sir Dragonet quite comfortably. So I think he's one of the main horses in the betting I'm happy to risk. Yeah. Alright, so we've got Twilight Payment, ran in this race last year, led them up, as I sort of talked about, went too slow, beaten 3.8, comes back here in really solid form. I know it was a 5 last start, they've sort of said at the 2 starts back at the Curragh. beaten by 8 with 63 kilos. To start before that, beat home a solid team of horses. What's that? Vintage Crop. This is it.
Attempting to make all of the running.
Twilight Payment in front here.
Sovereign, 4 lengths first to last as they enter the straight. With 3 furlongs to go, it's Twilight Payment by half a length to Falcon 8. Barbados, Giuseppe
Cut that down. So
in the center of the track, Master of Reality, and then Trossachs and
he certainly seems to be going better this time of year. So he sort of takes quite a while to wind up, and that's why I expect this horse to be ridden a little bit more aggressively. Come tomorrow, I think he'll really try and make the race a bit more of a staying test. You see he sort of takes forever to get through his years, but he's definitely got him there and he's going well. I think he's a horse that'll race on speed. He's at the top of his game, and he's one that can really be there for quite a while. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he improved on his effort of last year for John McNeil and Joseph O'Brien. Very elegant, we've talked about, we've shown the replay there of the Caulfield Cup. I expect her to run well. It's just a matter of whether she needs the sting out, how much water they put on the track. I don't think they're going to put enough on it to bring wet trackers into play, that's for sure. But the only time she's been beaten this preparation was when it was sort of sub a good 3. She came out and won on a 3.5 at Flemington. It was a huge win. And then last start in the Caulfield Cup, you can't knock her. She sort of over-raced a little bit, which she always does. Will that play against her here from a tricky gate? She certainly needs a bit of luck, and as I've sort of said, I won't be playing her to win, and I won't be putting her to win in any exotics. I'll probably be throwing her in for 3rd and 4th, just due to her quality. And if she makes me look silly again, I'll just say too good again, because she's just one of those special horses that can overcome doing crazy things in races and still stick her head out late in the piece. But if it was wet, I'd certainly be entertaining her far more seriously. Mustajeer, we showed the replay there of the Caulfield Cup. Pretty solid form, but is it good enough to win a Melbourne Cup? Probably not. You go back to its effort at Rose Hill. First up, softish form is when it was probably doing its best. Is it going as good? Maybe not, but has it been set for one race? Probably. Like, it's 100 to 1, an inside draw. Michael Rodd, it's a horse I'm throwing in, certainly for 3rd, 4th, in exotics if I'm playing them, which I am, because I just think it'll run the trip out, and I just think that inside draws there will be quite a solid advantage, and some nice horses that'll be tracking through, as opposed to other years where maybe there were a few that might stop in front. I think this horse will probably get a nice run throughout and could certainly sneak into the placings at big odds. Stratum Albion's a tough one to line up. It looks a very one-paced horse. Its form looks very average. The horse is trained by Willie Mullins, who is extremely talented at picking out the right sort of horses for these races. The problem is that I believe it's back here on the inside. They're calling it Stratum Albion for this race. It's called Stratum in this race. It's just extremely one-paced, and I thought he normally brings out horses that have a little bit better turn of foot. And even though this horse is held up here, it sort of has quite a while to wind up down the running. Let's turn that down, sorry. So this is him coming through the middle here in the hooped colours. You see, just doesn't do enough for mine to scare me, in a pretty, it's a Group 2, but it's not a high quality event, and just takes forever to get past these horses. I have no doubt that it's going to run the trip, which brings it into probably the first half of the field when they cross the line. But is it quality enough to get past some of these horses in this race? I don't think so. 40 to 1, I don't want to knock it, but I can't find it, that's for sure. Dashing Willoughby, Michael Walker's got off this horse, got off Prince of Iran to ride this horse. Obviously came here in pretty solid form, and then was beaten out of sight in the Caulfield Cup when it seemed to have issues. They blame the ground there, gets firmer ground, which is obviously what this horse needs. It's 120 to 1 or something here, which it certainly wouldn't have been had it run a solid race in the Caulfield Cup. Did sit up on a solid tempo there before it was eased out of the race. What do you do with this horse? I don't know. It could run last, and it can probably run top 6 if it finds its old form. So what do? You throw it in, probably exotics again. Maybe not all of them, but if you're going wide in one, probably this is the horse that you want to throw in, just because it does have serious upside and it gets the firm ground that it does look like it requires to do something like its best. So it's one that can turn its form around. I don't think it can win, but it can turn its form around here. Finch, Chris Waller, the master trainer, the grand final trainer. The horse looks like it's had its preparation time to perfection. Is it going as well as it ever has? Certainly looks that way. Its run in the Caulfield Cup was very similar to its run in the Caulfield Cup from a quality perspective last year, and the form held up going into the grand final there, which it looks like it will here. Just hoping that it's just ridden that little bit more aggressively, which we haven't seen. And I think this horse is a very dangerous horse in this Cup this year. I know it's only won the one race since it's come out to Australia, but I think this is its D-Day. Prince of Iran, third Melbourne Cup for Prince of Iran. Can't knock that Caulfield Cup run in any way, shape or form. Its form coming into this race is arguably as good as any. It's certainly not the Marianne Brosnan trained, definitely the Charlie Fellows trained Prince of Iran, but it's going as well as it ever has by the look of it. They've done very well to get this horse back into the race with 54.5 kilos again. Gate 1 certainly not going to be a disadvantage, I wouldn't imagine. I think this horse does require everything to go its way to put them away, but it runs the distance, loves Flemington, going well, had the local run, loves a dry track. Didn't get the conditions that it likes there last time at Caulfield, and you can't see it doing anything but running well here. That's for sure. Can it win? It probably can. $12. It's one that I'll be tossing up whether I throw it in to win or not in exotics. Definitely not backing it at $12, but it goes in the placings, that's for sure. Surprise Baby is one of two horses that I think can potentially blow them away, maybe three. Its run in the Melbourne Cup last year was just insane. It's definitely worthwhile. I think the race was pretty crazy from first of all, you see that he's sort of taken way back from gate 20. No choice, improves to gate 7 this time. As we said, they've come home well above average, gone out ridiculously slow. This is Surprise Baby back last in the pink and widest runner. Nothing really runs on except for Surprise Baby. So this is it out wide. There's trains that thought that this horse is much better suited when they go slow and it can sprint off slow tempos. Not sold on that. There's nothing else really savaging the line except for Surprise. It's just an incredible run. The trainers set it for this race, put it away, hidden it from the handicapper. It gets in with 54.5. Craig Williams is just a freak in these sort of situations. He's been flying down to ride at work. There's just no knock on this horse whatsoever for mine. If it can settle midfield or maybe a touch closer, I'm not worried where it is in the run, to be honest, as long as it doesn't have to circle the field. Wow, I think this horse is certainly going well enough. Forgive that last run where it was held up, and I don't think they really had any interest in the first or second up wins. I think it's all about conditioning for this race, and this horse is a very, very serious horse come Tuesday. King of Leogrance every possible chance in the Geelong Cup for mine. Its form level's certainly not up to this standard for mine. It draws 18 gate and will not get the same sort of run that it had at Geelong. It'll be probably the best training performance I've ever seen from Danny O'Brien, including getting Vow and Declare home last year, that I've ever seen to turn this horse's form around enough. It does have 3,200 metre form. There's a tick that they don't all have, but I just worry about its quality and just the way that it hit the line even there the other day, even though it was only second up at 2,400 metres. You know, it's stepping up another 800 metres here, and sort of see what I talk about. It's travelled up behind him here. I know it's been sold the dummy and back to the inside, but just concerned that it was clearly the weakest on the line late of the first 6 or 7 across the line. Russian Camelot is another horse that I'd probably want to spend a bit more time, up to 25 minutes. I'm sorry about this, guys. Alright, so what I would say here is that Russian Camelot reminds me a lot of a horse called Fiorente. I think it won in 2013 or 14. I'm not a Melbourne Cup trivia person. It won the Adelaide Derby off an extremely fast tempo at only its start. Was it number 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ridden conservatively, and I expect this is what they'll do tomorrow, is ride this horse conservatively. Warnings in this race tomorrow as well, and it's a horse that I think's not hopeless either. So he was spelled after this win. Russian Camelot came back, huge effort first up off a slow tempo, circled the field and whacked away outside them, then sat outside an extremely solid tempo of 1800 metres at Group 1 level, put them away comfortably, had a nice enough run again over 1800 to step into 2000, but I really think Danny O'Brien's targeted this race all the way, and if anything just looked a little bit one-paced, and then again sent forward, and this is the run that reminds me of Fiorente, a really tough on-pace 2000 metre effort where it's right there turning for home, and just a couple of horses with softer runs and really strong quality form have got past it, but he's not weak late. He's really toughing it out, and I expect this horse to be ridden conservatively. I wish it wasn't drawn 16, but you've got Damien Oliver, who is as good as any jockey that's ever lived in Australia for mine. He's still riding extremely well, and if this horse has any luck in the run, like 3 wide cover, midfield or worse, it's the one horse, or it's one of 3 horses I think can blow their heads off potentially, and I think he's primed to run a really good race here. And again, he's a little question mark at the 3,200, but Danny O'Brien will have him ready to rumble. Steel Prince, winner of the Geelong Cup, really honest horse. Can you say it can't win? No. 21 gate Willie Pike drops 4 kilos off the Geelong Cup win. He just never runs a poor race. He sort of won 5 in a row there at one stage leading up to the end of sort of autumn into winter last year. Then came back, had some issues, tipped out. Sorry, ran in this race last year. Only got beaten 2 lengths after over racing. Lost the plot. And then again set for this race this year. Qualified through the Geelong Cup. Here he is again. It's hard to knock this horse. 26 starts, 9 wins, 8 placings. He's super honest. Can he beat them? Personally, I don't think so, especially from that draw. But I think he'll run somewhere between 5th and 10th, personally. Chosen One's very similar for mine. I think he's going to get a perfect run. That's the difference compared to Steel Prince, who has to find a position from gate 21. This horse is going to lob back in there quiet. They put the blinkers on last start, really improved it. The 3,200 metres at this level is the question mark for mine. Obviously only beaten a neck on a heavy track by Etta James in the Sydney Cup. And I thought, its run in the Melbourne Cup last year was a complete forgive. Ran okay, beaten 5.5, just out the back. Really given no chance due to the tempo there. Blinkers stay on this year, a much better position for the draw, and certainly a horse that I think can run sort of somewhere between 3rd and 6th, 7th, something like that. But does it have that killer blow to put them away? I'm not so sure. Ash Run, extremely solid setup. You just love these horses that come through the Saab or whatever they call it now. I'm not even sure what they called it on Saturday. So that last qualifying race, I loved its last little part of its run here. It's out wide in the Geelong Cup. Here it is. So a little bit out sprinted, but across the line, certainly a look of a horse that's going to run 3,200 metres out. Look at it late. It's starting to surge. Went up to 61 kilos in the race on Saturday. Ridden stone cold. Gets to the outside. Mows them down. Is this Melbourne Cup winning form for these horses? It's arguable, but you just love this horse that's gone 10 days, 3 days back up into this, or 10 days between the Geelong and the Flemington race, 3 days back up into here. I wish it wasn't drawn horrifically. I'd be much more excited about its chances. Declan Bates jumps on. It's not going to be an easy task for him. If he can overcome the gate, I think this horse is sort of certainly primed to run a very strong race in 3,200. I wouldn't be surprised if it won, to be fair, but I just think it's another one that fits into that 3rd to 6th or 7th range, because it's going to run it out. Warning's a horse that's looks like it's been desperate for 3,200 its whole life. Its last win was in the Vic Derby about this time last year, actually 12 months today, and I can be forgiving of his run last time. I thought his effort was good. The start before was good, and I think back on a good track's certainly a positive for this horse as well. Warning's back here for even colours. Just tries to get out wide, doesn't get there. Shuffled, comes back to the inside here in the blinkers. It's certainly a horse that has got no exciting turn of speed, but does whack away. I think it's an exotic's hope for 3rd and 4th if it runs out the 3,200 metres. I just don't mind what it does late through the line and after the line. Etta James I don't think can win. It is the Sydney Cup winner on a very heavy track. It has got good track form, but nothing to the level that's required to win a race of this nature. Its form was okay. It got beaten 4 lengths in the Moonee Valley Cup, 9 lengths first up. I just think it needs to improve too much, and it was a little bit of a surprise winner on that really heavy track in the Sydney Cup, and I don't think it will be a surprise performer here. Tiger Moth is probably the query runner of the race. We'll have a quick look at the Irish Derby. Every bit as good a run as the winner for mine. Where is it? Winner gets the run through, and Irish Moth forced. Tiger Moth forced wide. So this is Tiger Moth here. Winner's just got the run through, one off the fence I think to chase the leader now. Sorry, this is the winner here I believe in the stripes. Tiger Moth comes to the outside, and they really dominate over the rest of the field, which is pretty good. And this horse keeps finding the line despite having to sort of race a little bit wide throughout, come around them, whereas the winners come under them, and there's not much between them strength-wise on the line. If anything, sort of Tiger Moth doesn't look like it's going to stop. Put away after that comeback, had to win a race to get a penalty to sort of make it eligible for this race. Got a big penalty for this win, which it needed to get into the field. And dominant here, like really did put them away nice and early, strong to the line. European bred 3-year-old gets in nice and light at the weights, Kerry McAvoy's one of the better staying riders I've ever seen in my life. And as you see there, he shows up here in good form. There were whispers around that he'd had a little setback, but sort of betting or nothing else I've heard really says that was true. Might have just been a bit of Chinese whispers. Gate 22 is the nightmare. Sorry, Gate 23 is the nightmare. But it does look a horse that, if it has any luck at all in that first part of the race and finds it back, which Kerry McAvoy is just so good at, being patient. If they turn the speed on here early and you've got that wave of horses carting the back markers into it, which normally happens in a Melbourne Cup, this is the horse I'd be scared of. And so it's one of the three of Surprise Baby, Russian Camelot and Tiger Moth that I think can get back and put them away with one withering burst here. I think Anthony Van Dyke can be up there and he can win the race, but I really think those are the three with a bit of X factor in this final. There's no genius about that. They're all pretty solid in betting, but I think they're the three with the turns of foot that can really blow this race apart. Ocean X has got the Equicast on the foot. I'd be surprised to see it featuring in the finish. There's no doubt about that. Miami Bound found some form after being an Oaks winner in this spring last year on that soft track at Moonee Valley. Had an extremely strong tempo in its favour there. It was strong through the line, so Danny O'Brien's too good. I don't think it's going to get that, obviously, the wet track to help its chances, and I doubt its class and where it's going to be in the run and quite a few things in this race, but he's too good for me a lot of the time, Danny O'Brien, and the horse ran a really strong rating and everything last start. So comes into here in form with a really strong setup, hasn't run at 3,200, can't knock it completely. I'm not throwing it in personally, but you can sort of make a case for it. The horse down the bottom is interesting from a pure guts and determination position. A horse that's just continued to get better with age despite setbacks and issues, and really shows up here in strong form with, again, good ratings and dropping in the weights. I think it can run a solid race, Persan, down in the weights, and it's probably one of my better roughies that I'll be throwing in for second, third, fourth, no doubt. So just ducking back through the field really quickly, I think Anthony Van Dyke can win. Avilius, no. Vow Declare I'm leaving out. Master Reality I'm leaving out this year. So Dragonette's probably the shortest price runner I'm leaving out. Twilight Payment I'm throwing in, probably second, third, fourth. Very Elegant, third, fourth. Mustajev, third to fourth, but fourth probably. I'm leaving out Stratum Albion, leaving out Dashing Willoughby. If you're going wide, I'll be throwing it maybe for third and fourth. Finch, definitely a player, probably monitor track conditions for it. If you can lead and run well, I think Finch can be in the finish and possibly throwing it in second, third, fourth more confidently, but throwing it in for the win small in a couple of trifectas or something like that. And if you're playing win only, I'll make sure it's a small winner as well. Prince of Iran, I'm probably throwing in for places only, but I'm certainly not saying it can't win. I'm just saying it's a bit shorter around the $9, $10, $11 mark. Surprise Baby certainly can win. I think it's a very strong winning chance. King of Leogrants, I'm against. Russian Camelot really reminds me of Fiorente. I think it can win. Steel Prince, placed best for mine. The Chosen One, same. Ashrun's got a big task from gate 24, but very well set up, and I think it's probably, again, one of those horses between third, fourth, sixth and seventh. Somewhere it'll fit in. Warning can run well over this sort of trip and similar. Tiger Moth's the one. Etta James I've missed there, but I've ruled it out. I've ruled out Ocean X and Miami Bound. Tiger Moth's a very, very dangerous horse. Fits the profile, fits the likely race, has the form on the board and the rider to get the job done. And Persan down the bottom goes in second, third and fourth for me. I don't think it's got the firepower to win, but dangerous horse. I'll do a little abridged version as well without all the go through for everything. This is cracked out to 40 minutes, so sorry for that, but hopefully worthwhile for those who stuck through it. And good luck tomorrow, guys. It's never easy, but I think it's a really good edition of the Melbourne Cup. Thanks, guys.